Okay. Good afternoon. This is Cheryl Cuthrell. I'm the Anderson County GOP Chair. Due to the virus that's been affecting all of us, we're going to have some Zoom meetings, and this is one of our first. And we're going to have these where we can get it out to the public, so some of the candidates will be able to get their information out to you when they've not been able to meet with the Anderson GOP. Today, I have with me Duke Buckner, and he is running for U.S. Senate. How are you, Duke?
I'm doing great. Cheryl, how's everything?
Doing pretty good considering the virus and all that. So this is a statewide campaign. So we understand you're trying to travel all over the state. So the Zoom meetings have become easier for you. I just wanted to kind of ask you a few questions. What is the thing that drove you into running for this position?
Well, Cheryl, I believe that it is time for the righteous to govern our nation. And I say that, and I'll say it again, it's time for the righteous to govern. We need godly men and women in positions of authority at the helm of our government making decisions, because their decisions are going to have an effect on all of us. And we see that now more than ever with the COVID-19 virus. And so we got to have godly men and women in office who are going to fear the Lord and do the right thing. And so that's why I'm running, because it's time for the righteous to govern. Of course, I want to encourage others that if they feel like the Lord is calling them to run for office, now's the time to do it, because we cannot allow our country to go in the direction that the Democratic Party wants to take it.
What are any other positions in the Republican Party that you have held, or any offices that you have held before going for this U.S. Senate seat?
Yes, when I came back home from Florida from attending law school, I ran for the Walterboro City Council, and I was elected to the Walterboro City Council. So I served a term on Walterboro City Council. So outside of Senator Graham, I'm the only Republican candidate that has actually been elected to office. I just wanted to make that point. So I have prior public office experience.
What are the top 3 things that you would like to accomplish if you become U.S. Senator?
Great question. And I like to share with everyone my contract with South Carolina, which you can reach that on my website at bucknerforsenate.com. And it spells out specifically what I plan to do if elected as your next senator. And my first 3 priorities is, number 1, the Right to Life Act. I believe that life begins at conception. And right now in the state of South Carolina, the last numbers I could get was from 2018. There were 10,732 abortions performed in South Carolina. And that's according to South Carolina DHEC. That's a lot of abortions. I believe that children are a blessing from God. They are not a burden, and that they have a right to life. And so in order to reduce the increasing number of abortions, I support that they be prohibited with no exceptions. The second is my Second Amendment Protection Act. So far in our country, there's been a process of chipping away slowly at our Second Amendment rights. I believe that our Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. And the introduction of red flag laws, which is a position that Senator Graham supports and wants to see expanded, I'm totally against it, because as a practicing attorney in the state of South Carolina, I know how that plays out in the real world. You get in front of a judge that hears a red flag law hearing, and that judge is going to err on the side of caution every single time. So you could be Mr. Rogers, so to speak, a responsible gun owner, and you go in front of the judge, they're going to confiscate your gun, and I can't go along with that. And then my next legislative proposal will be my 2030 Debt-Free Act. Right now, the United States is estimated to be $19 trillion in debt. I believe that the borrower is servant to the lender. Thus, in the spirit of President Andrew Jackson, who was the last president to actually have a zero deficit, I believe that our national debt can be paid off within 10 years. This is how we can do it. 1, I support a balanced budget amendment. 2, we have to reduce government spending. 3, we have to eliminate all unnecessary foreign aid. 4, we have to end deficit spending. 5, we must give the president a line item veto. 6, we have to have stricter laws of enforcement of businesses who are underreporting wages, and that's happening all across the country. 7, we need to auction off all unneeded United States property. And 8, we need to designate that all budget surpluses, if any, every year go towards paying off our national debt. And those are my first 3 legislative priorities. My next priority is the Fatherhood Preservation Act. Right now in the state of South Carolina, and I'm pretty sure it's across the whole country, that if a child is born out of wedlock, the father has no rights to that child at all. And I think that that's unfair, especially if that father is being court ordered to pay child support. So he's paying child support, but yet he can't see his child. And there's evidence and research that shows that a father that's positively involved in the life of their children helps that child to develop and to grow emotionally. And so my position is this: if you're court ordered to pay child support, immediately that father would be given joint custody and standard visitation rights. And I believe that's very important. Of course, they would have to pass a SLED check or whatever. We want to make sure that the father is following the law, but they will have rights to the child. And then last, of course, is my Natural Food Consumption Act. Right now, there are a lot of diseases that are going on in our state: diabetes, heart disease, and we're seeing that in smaller children. And that shouldn't be. I believe that you are what you eat. Therefore, I believe in the expansion and the promotion of organic farming and organic livestock farming, because it's important that we eat good food. I believe if you eat good food, it will help to reduce some of the ailments and the diseases that we see. And that is my legislative agenda that I plan to work on with my contract with South Carolina.
I have read your contract, and I have to say that you have gone along pretty much the Republican Party lines on how we believe, and I really appreciate that. I want to give you just a couple more minutes to see if there's anything else that you'd like to say to the Anderson GOP, but anyone else that would listen to this video, just giving you a couple more minutes to let us know anything else you want to get out there to the public.
Yes, this is a very important election. This election is about whether or not your values and beliefs are being represented in Washington, D.C. If the answer to that question is no, then it's time to vote for new leadership. I no longer believe that Senator Graham represents the values and the beliefs of the majority of the citizens of South Carolina. He lost my vote when he came out and threatened the president basically with holy hell if he fired Attorney General Jeff Sessions. And then Senator Graham said it would be the end of the Trump presidency if the president were to have fired Special Counsel Robert Mueller. I had a problem with that, because if you're in the Republican Party, you shouldn't threaten the leader of the Republican Party, what sounded like impeachment. And then when you fast forward 2 years later, our president was impeached by House Democrats. And I believe they felt that they had an ally in the Senate with Senator Graham. And that shouldn't be. And so I believe that we have to move forward as a party to stop the Democratic Party from putting forth their agenda, which I believe will destroy America as we know it. And we cannot allow that to happen. The Lord has blessed South Carolina, and we want him to continue to bless our state. And so we have to do it the right way. And last, I just want to say this, the other candidates that are running, they're not from South Carolina. I'm from South Carolina. This is my home. I was born and raised here in South Carolina. So I believe I have experiences and knowledge and understanding of our state that someone who's not from here may not have. And I say that like this, I know what it means to go out in a field and cut a piece of sugar cane and chop it up and suck on it until it basically dissolves in your mouth. I know what it means to go crabbing down in Bears Island in the low country of South Carolina with a chicken neck and a string and a fish net and crabbing. I know what it means to go up in York County and pick apples in an apple orchard, or to ride up to Cedar Head State Park and look over the mountain and see the beautiful valley that we have here in South Carolina. I know these things because this is my home. And I believe I'm the best candidate that can represent the values and the beliefs of the citizens of South Carolina. And so thank you very much, Cheryl, for your time. And I appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.
Thank you so much for taking time, and I appreciate that everything you've said, and I appreciate you being open to doing these Zoom meetings. It has been a challenge with y'all running a statewide race and not being able to get out there, and I really
Yes.
appreciate you taking the time to do this for me. And we'll
Thank you.
some others, and y'all can just stay tuned later, and I'll be posting these so you can see them.